All right. I don't know if you guys can hear me. All right. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm hearing playback, but I'm hearing playback, but okay, I see that. I don't know why I'm getting an echo every time I talk, but I'm hearing like a delayed playback, so I don't know why I'm getting an echo every time I talk, but I'm hearing like a delayed. I'm sorry, guys, that I'm running into tech issues here. Let's see what the problem is. I'm sorry, guys, that I'm running into tech issues here. Let's see what the problem is. I'm sorry, guys, that I'm running into tech issues here. Let's see what the problem is. I'm sorry, guys, that I'm running into tech issues here. Let's see what the problem is. Do you guys hear an echo coming back? Do you guys hear an echo coming back? Okay. I don't hear an echo anymore, so I'm guessing that maybe it stopped. Okay, it looks like I got rid of that echo. I think I know what I did wrong now. I think I have it up here so I can see the chat, but I think I pressed play on my own live stream, so I was actually getting feedback of what I was saying. But we were talking about the solar eclipse and the blood moon tetrad and all, and everything that's transpired since then. I'm trying to think what else has been going on. North Korea, for one thing. That's something to really watch. I really just wonder, though, if, I don't know, if it's just a conspiracy theory, but Mexico is just beneath the US, so if they were firing any missiles and it happened to hit the ocean rather than the mainland, it could easily cause an earthquake. But I also know that some areas are more prone to earthquakes anyways. And then there's HARP going on, and you have NASA with their water vapor machines, which are causing massive flooding in areas like Texas because rain on top of a hurricane is just a total disaster. Hi, Mega Man XE. And let me see if I missed anyone. Hi, Face Facey and Stewie May. I'm so bad with names. That's true. I agree with you, Alan Van Riot. It does seem strange that the CIA hasn't gotten to Kim Jong Un yet because they've done it to most dictators and corrupt leaders. Hi, Kim Fry. Hi, Robert Belmont. It's almost like they want this war. It's like the dialogue between North Korea and the US to me has been like watching a WWE match. Well, this whole election cycle and CNN, it's been like the WWE. It's like they want us to continually have this back and forth with Nikki Haley. I can't remember exactly what I think she told North Korea that they were begging for war, and then Kim Jong Un said something. Well, KTA said something back to her. All right, I see Josh S is saying there is patents by multiple different companies to manipulate hurricanes. Don't know if that's what they're doing, but the increase in violent hurricanes is weird. I agree. We were talking about heart weather modification a little bit earlier. And I see Kim Fry asking if I could talk about the 23rd. I did touch on it a little bit earlier in the stream, but I was just telling everyone that I do think it's something to watch. I'm not just going to brush it under the rug. I'm not one of those people that thinks it's going to be the rapture because, again, no man knows the day or the hour. But what's happening and with the celestial bodies, I don't think that's just a coincidence. I see Stewie May said, I think North Korea is a sidetrack. Do you mean like a distraction? Or what do you mean by a sidetrack? And then too, just with everything going on, like the weather as well as like especially these hurricanes, that's all we're getting now is coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm sure that's going to blow over, and maybe we'll get coverage of Hurricane Jose. It's keeping a lot of other things within the news from being discussed because it seems like with the mainstream media, they like to focus on one thing at a time, which I've always found kind of strange. Similar to with Ebola, they like to focus on Ebola day in and day out, and that's all we got, and then they made it disappear. Right now it's Hurricane Irma. Prior to that, it was Hurricane Harvey, and before that, it was Charlottesville. And before Charlottesville, it was North Korea. And before North Korea, it was Trump and Russia. So I think that they're definitely right now keeping us inundated with Hurricane Irma coverage, but what's next and what they're keeping us from knowing, I guess, is the bigger question. I see Armando Beck is asking, can you conclude? Let me see, I have to go back up. Can you conclude after recent events that God is bringing final judgment on America? I definitely think that you could look at this as somewhat of a judgment. I mean, there is the HARP weather modification component that goes into all of this. There's NASA, we've seen the machinery, but and the patents as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, if there's a creator and he's allowing this to happen and it's happening to the United States, and the United States has done a lot of terrible things to other countries as well as to their own citizens, then I definitely think this could also be judgment. It's just really hard to tell because I know the technology exists out there, but I also know I believe in supernatural events and prophecy as well. I agree with Robert Delan about the media lying to us every day. I see Stewie Mays talking about Venezuela trying to dump the dollar. That's very fascinating what's going on in Venezuela. And I remember, I think it was in my class I'm in this semester, we were talking about how the average Venezuelan lost 20 pounds, which is just insane. And 60 people died a day last year from protests. So it's been pretty violent out there in Venezuela. Also, zoo animals have been disappearing because people are starving and need to eat. I see that Alan Van Riot said they have been given a reign. Who exactly are you referring to when you say they? Just for some clarification. And I see Zio Ben T said, yeah, I think it's all one big look over here distraction. Do you mean the storms, or what do you mean, North Korea? And yeah, me too, Robert Deland. I do hope that things get better with Texas and Florida as well. I heard that it's going to cost, I believe, over $1.8 billion to for disaster relief for Hurricane Harvey, and I know they just voted on disaster relief, and they are going to put out more money. However, they had to raise the debt ceiling as well, and all these natural disasters are having an effect on the economy. And not a lot of people have been watching the stock market or Wall Street, but if we continue to have these types of disasters, then we'll probably see some type of fiscal disaster in the near future. I see Mega Man XE said, ask the celebs for the money. They got enough, lol. Yeah, I agree. I did see that some celebrities were going down to the Houston area and holding concerts to give money back to the victims. But I always think about how, like, $1, $2 million is nice, but for some celebrities, it's like us giving away $20 or $10 because they have so much money in their possession. I see that Josh S said, I'm not up on my end times Bible knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that there is supposed to be a temple or something that will be rebuilt first before all the crazy stuff happens. I've heard about that too. I've heard it up for debate just because some have said that as far as that temple goes, if you look into the 42 months, that would equal about the time. Some people call it the halfway point of the tribulation. Others believe the tribulation is 3.5 years, and some say that the temple that's being referred to is actually the body of Christ. I see Kim Fry said, do you think all this recent Nibiru stuff is BS, or could it have a connection to recent natural disasters? Nibiru is interesting because it's Planet X, and they say that if there's this extra planet within our solar system, that it can cause all of these natural disasters. I've looked into Nibiru, and there's not a lot on it except from people that are speculating, and I've heard all these different predictions that Planet X is coming, Planet X is coming, so I'm not sure if it's mere fantasy or if there's some truth to it, but an extra planet in our solar system causing cataclysms, I wouldn't be too surprised. Um, I also read somewhere a long, long time ago that if a planet like that was coming this close, that it could also cause damage to people's frontal lobes. And if our frontal lobe is damaged, that can pretty much turn us into zombies, because people without their higher thinking skills can revert to cannibalism and other type of beast-like behavior. Chat, I see Alan Van Riot said, if weather warfare is exactly what we're looking at, and it seems to go hand in hand with the claim of climate change, then it is the elite Luciferian that are making judgment. And see, that's the thing with the whole debate. Is it weather warfare? Is it judgment? Is it Nibiru? It could be any of those three things to me. It could be all three combined. And either way, we know that what's happening isn't just something that's completely natural, because I have noticed since these last few natural disasters happened, it has given those who have been pushing the climate change agenda a chance to say, look, here's our evidence that climate change is real. I see Robert DeLance and maybe the blood moon is causing these weathers. And see, I was thinking about like the solar eclipse even, because the moon does have an effect on the tides of the ocean. So even with Hurricane Sandy that occurred like 5 years ago, they say that it was worse because it was a full moon at the time of that hurricane, so it worsened the storm. I see Ken Fry is saying, I had a thought the other day. You've heard of lunatics' behavioral changes during full moons. Imagine a full Nibiru. I have heard of people saying that full moons could create behavioral changes. I don't know if it's more of a urban legend or if there's any proof of that, but I know someone who used to work in a psychiatric ward, and they say that during full moons they did notice changes with some of the patients, so maybe there is some truth to that. Hi, Christian96. Stewie May said telephone calls go up 20% on a full moon. I really just wonder too about, I know I'm switching topics on you guys, but I really wonder about this middle of this month, because I don't know, that whole meeting in at Devil's Tower to me is just really suspect. I see Josh S. said that total eclipses cause behavioral changes in animals. That's interesting. I really don't know about full moons, but I'll have to look into that. Oh, there was another story that I wanted to share with you guys now that I'm thinking about it. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I think I might have closed the tab on it, but there was a massive crater that opened up in Siberia. And again, they're blaming climate change on it. But you have another natural type disaster happening. And they're saying that it could weaken, of course, the permafrost is melting and it can weaken infrastructure in that area. But we have been seeing more of an increase in sinkholes as well. Hi, Understanding Conspiracy. And yeah, I'm definitely trying a live show. It's been kind of rough this first time around, but hopefully as I progress on, it gets a lot smoother. I see Alan Van Riot said, expand in what you were speaking of. Speaking of, and what topic? I'm sorry, I keep jumping topics, so I'm trying to remember exactly which topic I was discussing. I agree with Robert Deland about things getting worse. Oh, Devil's Tower. Okay. Yeah, I think the Devil's Tower thing is I think it's a ritual, to be honest with you, because I don't know, the fact that it's being done like almost a month after the solar eclipse hotspot. I mean, it was out in nature, and many of you guys commented on the fact that Devil's Tower looks like an ancient tree stump. And it kind of does look like a tree stump rather than a fossilized volcano, as they're saying. But in the movie, that's where the UFO landed, and they're going to celebrate UFOs. And we know that UFOs, extraterrestrials, generally are just the modern version of fallen angels and demons. Also, I saw the Alien Covenant movie recently, and I heard that it was originally named Alien Paradise Lost. And Paradise Lost was a book of poems by, I'm forgetting his name, Milton is his last name. But that's detailing like man's fall from grace and the devil's fall from heaven. And I noticed that what they did with that movie in many ways was an ode to Lucifer and to this ideal of the fallen winning. So you see this constantly in Hollywood, this praising of fallen angels. And anymore, most aliens, most superhero movies are just celebrating the fallen ones. I see Stewie Mays bringing up the Burning Man festival that's going on. That's true too. They have, is that an annual? I think it's annual. They do have a lot of these festivals in September because it's fall fun, and September is usually the time of festivals. See, Robert Belmont said he always gets an eerie feeling in September, always so much happening. There's so much happening in this month. It could be too because it's approaching Maybone, and this is the time when they switched from celebrating fertility and goddess worship to celebrating the quote unquote gods and death. And, you know, the fall and the winter season is more to the fallen angels. And I think the spring and summer is more to the quote unquote goddesses, which are also based on Nephilim. But I think a lot of it has to do with that dichotomy of the women and the angels and what happened back in Genesis 6. But September too, I don't know why it's been like the favorite time too for people predicting things as well. Like this 23rd date for some reason. It's been in people's minds since I think 2014 or so. I've been hearing about it. But this time around with the whole celestial sign, it's something to watch for sure. I agree with you, Robert Deland. A lot of these rituals could be actually helping too with these storms, because a lot of these rituals people take place in are basically to drum up energy for the quote unquote gods, which are really just fallen ones and demons. And we know that Satan is the prince and the power of the air. And even if, say, these were judgments from God, they could be judgments for idolatry as well. Another thing, too, that I find interesting about the 23rd date of September, and I mentioned this in the solar eclipse video that I put out like almost a month ago. I talked about how the number 23 is very sacred to some people within the occult because they affiliate it with chaos. And maybe that's another reason why this date is constantly peddled as the date of something occurring. Because we know they're into numerology. That's another reason why they did 9/11, even September 11th of 2001. If you add it up using numerology, 9/11 of 2001, you'll get 23 as well. And when I said add it all up, I meant 23. But 33 is also a sacred number to them as well, because you have the Freemasons and you see it everywhere. Oh, the naming of the storms, that's another thing too I wanted to mention to you guys because I was looking at that and I found it pretty fascinating. So the name Harvey, sorry guys, I'm looking this up as I go because I did it a while back. I should have just had my tabs open. In some versions, it means warrior or soldier or eager for battle, which I found interesting because if they're waging weather warfare, then they're waging a battle with a storm named Harvey. And if it's judgment, then it's also can go with battle. And then Irma means it can mean noble, but it can also mean war goddess for its German meaning. So we have this whole emphasis on wars and battles. And even in the new Wonder Woman movie that they put out over the summer, we saw, of course, Wonder Woman was Diana, or the goddess of love, and she was fighting Ares or Mars. And there's all this emphasis these days to go to Mars, and Mars is the red planet or the war planet. And I just wonder if sometimes this has anything to do even with the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And thanks, Catwolf, for pointing that out about what each one means. I didn't know Jose meant God increase. I just wonder, even after Jose, if we're going to see another monster hurricane, because they said that we're not even at the peak of hurricane season yet. That's interesting, understanding conspiracy about the release of the It movie representing Nephilim returning symbolism, along with the clown sightings last year. I was thinking about that too, because a lot of people were thinking whenever there were these creepy clown sightings that it had to do with promotion for Stephen King's It. And then we saw this kind of chain effect where people were dressing up like clowns and harassing people with machetes or knives. And some of them were obviously hoaxes, but there were even articles written about the psychology and saying that the whole creepy clown sightings was a mass hysteria on the masses' part. But I really enjoy your Nephilim clown series, and clowns are often used, I agree, to represent demons or Nephilim. I see Stewie Mays talking about a Mason Lodge up the road from him, and Alan Van Wright's talking about how Masonry is huge in LA. That's interesting. Even where I go to school at, I go to school in a different town than I live, but when I was walking around my college town, I noticed the Masonic Lodge right across the street, or maybe it was in the same building, connected to the same building as an attorney office. But yeah, Masonic lodges are everywhere. And one thing I found interesting when I was researching Freemasons years back was that a lot of what we see on the news, of course, is influenced by them. They're huge contributors to what is considered newsworthy news. I see Kim Fried's asking why is it clown's head so big? Oh, why is it clown's head so big? I don't know. It is interesting though. Maybe they're trying to make it look more like an extraterrestrial with the big head and spindly body. I see Alan Van Wright saying that it in the story is technically an alien shape shifting as a clown. And then I see Understanding Conspiracy saying if the Nephilim did look like demons, and these people who dressed up as clowns were. Sorry, I lost the comment real quick. Let's go back up. Then these people dressed up as a clown were either possessed or means if lodges that worship the Nephilim. Like the Shriners do famously dress as clowns. Yeah, a lot of like the dressing up, like painting the face white and the makeup they put on, is used almost like the people are used almost like a conduit or means for the spirits to move through. Because I remember, I believe it was April and Wayne, or maybe it was a different channel years back. They did a whole series on minds and how, or maybe it was Craig Lewis. I don't know. I've watched so many Truther channels, and I get them all mixed up in my mind. But somebody was talking about how minds and mimes, since they paint their face often, it's not just a form of art, but it's done to channel certain spirits. Like I said, I was breaking up a bit. Did you guys hear what I said last? Just repeat it. Let me check the mic real quick. All right, can you guys hear me? I don't know if I'm being heard or if it's breaking up at this moment. Okay, guys, say I'm still breaking up, and I sound a little bit robotic. Let me see. All right, is it coming out any better, or is it still breaking up? And do I still sound like a robot? Okay, thank you, Cat Wolf, for confirming that to me. Yeah, sometimes with this, I don't know what it is. I have to mute the mic and unmute it, and it helps take care of some of the technical issues. But yeah, the subject of clowns and mimes and people channeling spirits is fascinating. Even like when I was reading Understand Conspiracy's comment about even memes, I was thinking about how even words like avatar that we use, like for instance, for our profile picture, goes back to the Hindu belief that people were avatars for the spirits, and how our technology even implements a lot of these spiritual beliefs into it, similar to how we surf the internet. And you guys have probably heard about the keyboard being similar to a Ouija board and screens being similar to black mirrors. It's just fascinating how everything we have today, even though people try to distance themselves from spirituality and from mysticism, a lot of our modern names are, they stem from mysticism and spirituality. I'm scrolling up the chat a little bit. Oh, I didn't know that. I see Paul from Understanding Conspiracy said also at pride parades, many dress in colorful clownish clothing and perform sword acts. And I'm glad, Stewie May, that you don't feel so alone. And I agree, Cat Wolf, about telephones often being used to communicate with spirits. Even television was basically supposed to be a spirit box, but instead we got entertainment with mind control. I see Mega Man X is saying that these times make him want to listen to more metal music, and he knows it's not the best music. Do you think it's just the darkness of these times, or all of the negativity out there, or why do you think it encourages you more to listen to metal music? I agree with Alan Van Riot about we have to be on our best discernment these days. Yeah, I agree, Cat Wolf, about inner for detainment. Basically, our entertainment that we have in many ways does detain many's minds. And it's just interesting the science behind our brainwave switching from alpha to higher thinking skills to beta, a more dreamlike state. Sorry, guys. I'm going back up the chat because I feel like I've missed a few comments. I don't know what it is about this scrolling, but I'm trying to keep up with what's going on in the chat, but I'm not. I don't know. I thought I saw a comment that I wanted to comment on, but I don't see it anymore. So, oh, I see it now. It's way back up here. I see that Cat Wolf said when I was talking about the clowns that white face clowns were skilled and the ones with non white faces were not skilled. So even this had to do with, so even in the clown world, there were levels. That's interesting when you consider face paint for channeling. It's kind of similar even to like if you look at a lot of gangs and tribes, how people believe in tattooing their face. And a lot of it's not for cosmetic reasons, it's for spiritual reasons, marking the face. All right, good night, Stewie. May I see you say that you're heading to bed? I agree, guys. A lot of what we have today in forms of entertainment pretty much are just either propaganda for politics or propaganda for spirits. Okay, I see Cat Wolf said in some dark beliefs they paint their face white with the ashes of the dead too. Interesting. An understanding conspiracy said the Japanese geisha face paint is for the higher level geisha only. They're trained to be master entertainers. Thank you both for the information because I've always wondered about that, but I do notice because I think I saw an Aborigine tribe. They rubbed something on their skin to make it whiter because they said they were trying to emulate the gods. And even in some cultures, they rub ochre on themselves too as a form of spiritual worship as well. It's fascinating, though, that you have tribes that still to this day practice worship of the old ones or the watchers or the fallen ones from the days of old. But it probably gives us more insight to what they really look like in the spirit because whenever we're marketed angels are always look very human like, and I do think they can appear like humans, but they look more like that, or at least their offspring may look more hideous like that. And I agree with Cat Wolf about it. It is all mask. Yeah, masks are often used for rituals. You see it a lot, even in South American and African countries, where people wear masks and they dance. I've always found the whole dancing and getting possessed by the spirits them on National Geographic and other documentary type of channels. It's always been so eerie and chilling because I do believe those are real manifestations and not just some type of psychological malfunction going on in the person. Similar to how they try to blame the mass demonic possession in Malaysia. And I think it was, I want to say it's Peru, where the schoolgirls got possessed. They blame that on mass hysteria. And yes, the elite do love their mass balls. Cat Wolf. It makes me think of Eyes Wide Shut, that movie. And I agree that they practice because they fear, we practice because we love. I agree. It's like that dichotomy. A lot of the demon worship and fallen angel worship is based out of fear. And demons and fallen angels often will try to gather worship through fear and intimidation. But God, there's love. I see Mega Man X said, haha, maybe that's why I can't dance. Demons don't like me. I don't know. I don't know what it is about those ritual dances, but a lot of the dances that they do are just so creepy. Like they don't look like your average dances. And I see Alan Van Ride is talking about and power. Are you referring to the worship of fallen angels and demons? They want more power, or sorry guys, I'm like reading the chat and some of it's broken up. Oh, I've never heard of the old Sinatra mass parties. I'll have to look that up, Josh S. Oh, thanks, Catwolf. Thank you for sticking with me in the channel all these years. I'm glad to see all of you guys that have been listening for since the beginning or for several years. I guess the last 3 years, I should say, and for all of you that are new as well. But I agree with everything everyone's saying, though. There really is that dichotomy with the worship of angels and demons versus the worship of God and Yeshua. Thanks, Kim Fry, as well. I'm glad that you stuck with the channel as well. It's nice to hear from everyone, and I'm glad to have you here too, Robert Deland. I see that you say you're new. Like I said, whether you're an old follower or new follower, I appreciate all the support that you guys give to the channel. And I agree, Alan Van Riot, about the Most High putting us all in sync. It's just so important for us to always keep him first and to really trust him and rely on discernment. We really need it in these dark times. I see that Josh S said, scrolled past it. I'm pretty sure that the menu items were all written backwards too. It's all about the symbolism and ceremonies. Are you talking about the Sinatra? I wouldn't be surprised because I know for them backmasking is a big thing because Aleister Crowley would often say that they had to walk backwards and do everything backwards. They believe there's some purpose or power in doing things backwards. Yeah, Mega Man X, it is like the Green Lanterns versus the Yellow Lantern. I agree, Cat Wolf, about us being brought together and not getting caught up with the confusion and fear. That's why I'm so thankful that we have our online communities and we're able to communicate. I mean, as much damage as some of technology, look, well, everything can be considered technology, but as far as like the information age, it's allowed us to learn so much and connect with other like minds that we may not have been able to. I mean, there's also been harm that's come from it. There's been a lot of good. I'm thankful that we're able to all connect and discuss things we may not otherwise be able to discuss with others around us. Well, thanks, Robert Deland. Yeah, I try to get the truth out, and it's not always easy. And sometimes I have my mistakes that I make, and if I'm wrong on something, then I try to always come out and correct it. And it's so difficult nowadays with all the finger pointing of fake news and just people in general when they go into write news or report news, whether it's an alternative source, people have their biases and they're not going to go away. So it's nice when we can get objective news. I see understand conspiracy saying Despacito, that terrible song that's big right now, says we serve Satan in backmasking. I found a video about it the other day. I think you're referring to the one, is it by Black Child? I saw it in my subscription list of recommended videos, but I didn't watch it yet. It's just awful, all the backmasking. It's like it never ends. And you think by now, with all the proof we have, that when they're singing and having these shows, they're basically saying how they love Satan or serve Satan, that it should be proved to those who deny that any of this is going on. But some people shrug it off and say it's just art, or we're looking too much into things. I see CO Banhans. He said, I've been listening to you for about, the chat just went up. Sorry. I've been listening to you for about a year, and I heard about you from, I think it says from, sorry, KJ Osborne. Yeah, I'm really thankful that he was nice enough to share my channel 3 years back on his. So that brought a lot of people to the channel, and I was able to connect with many of you guys. So it was really nice of him. I see you guys are saying that you love KJ's live shows. Yeah, his live shows are really interesting. He has a lot of different channels on, and I see Kim Fry was talking about Enter the Stars as well. Yeah, it's nice that he's able to bring on a lot of channels, whether they're large or small, and give them a platform to speak on and connect people because we really need to stick together, especially in these times with all of the madness going on. I see Robert Belmont says, so much disinfo that they throw out the whole industry that brought me here as well. Are you referring to the mainstream media, I'm guessing? Yeah, there is a lot of disinfo going on. And it's crazy to me, too, this whole fake news scare. Let's see, how long have we been hearing about fake news? Since Hillary Clinton and the elections, and they start going around talking about fake news. I see Josh S. is also mentioning White Rabbit's channel as well. Yeah, White Rabbit, Enter the Stars, KJ Osborne, they all put out pretty interesting, insightful content. I've learned a lot from so many of these different truther channels out there, and it's sad, though, that so many of them have been impacted by all of these YouTube AdSense rules. I see Mega Man X said I had to unsub a bunch of fear channels every day. We gonna die. Yeah, there are a lot of channels out there that will make your heart pound and make you believe that you don't have more than another hour left of your life and you better get down in your bunker or you're gonna die. I mean, the writing's on the wall. There are signs that we are moving toward a more, I'd say, a darker future. But at the same time, there's no need to just push fear, fear, fear all the time. See, Alan Van Wright says you grow out of them. I agree. I mean, I'm not going to go on and list the names of people I sub to or unsub to, but there are channels that I did find myself listening to, and I did learn a lot from them, and they opened my eyes, but at the same time, I had to unsub from them because too much of the time they were making my emotions go up and they're making me feel fearful and on edge, and then come to find here I am 3 years later and nothing that they said has occurred. Or I see that Understanding Conspiracy said, we've all been going to die tomorrow for 5 years, apparently. Seen it being said once I began. Yes, I agree. I think I started watching a lot of truther channels back in 2011, the end of it. That's when I really first got into even looking up like the Illuminati. I started hearing about it from people in my high school of all places. They're like, you gotta look up the Illuminati. You gotta look up if you can sell your soul to Satan and all of this crazy stuff. And I was wondering what the Illuminati was. And I did start off with a lot of channels and documentaries, and a lot of them led me to where I am now. But there were a lot of those channels out there who were predicting that it was all going to come down in 2011 or 12. And like you said, we were all supposed to die back on December 21st of 2012, but it's September 11th of 2017 and we're still here. And I agree, Cat Wolf, about how it all just makes the belief in God all the more true. Yeah, Kim Fry, people were banking their hopes on the Mayan calendar, which honestly, even with the Mayan calendar, it never really said the world was going to end. People just took the fact that they stopped making a calendar past 2012 and saying, oh, this must be the end of humanity. They could have just gotten tired and said, we've made so many calendars, we don't need to make any more. But people took it and they ran with it. And yeah, Mega Man X, I agree. You know, the elite doesn't have to do much. This current generation is open arms and gonna accept Satan. Yeah, there are a lot of people I knew who got the one eye tattoo or the pyramid in the one eye. And I think it's cute to tattoo Illuminati symbols on them because to them, It's just, as Josh S. said, it's just a meme to them. And it's crazy even with Pizzagate. I do believe there are pedophile rings, and I'm not saying that they couldn't run a pedophile ring in a pizza shop, but at the same time, it's so fascinating. Like, I believe it was ODD Reality. He pointed out that people have been using pizza to mock conspiracies and conspiracy theories about the Illuminati. They would have like a pizza slice with an eye on it. And this was long before Pizzagate ever came out. So it's fascinating that the mainstream media took this Pizzagate story and they blew it up as well. And you had all these new, quote unquote, alternative news journalists come out of nowhere and capitalize on this Pizzagate scandal. Mark B asked, what do I think about the Georgia Guidestones with the date 2014 on it? I didn't know that it had the date 2014 on it, but it is fascinating. I'm trying to think what's happened since 2014. A lot has happened since 2014. I will say, though, since 2014, from what I can remember, I feel like the mainstream media has done more to recognize the quote unquote truth community more openly, because it's now you have Snopes and all these mainstream sources constantly answering back conspiracy websites. They used to just kind of leave us in our corner and say, those crazy tinfoil hat people, let them believe their craziness, or, just laugh at them if they say anything. And now you have this whole fake news scare. Like in my college classes, they have sections dedicated in the curriculum to recognizing fake news, and apparently that's what they're teaching kids, is how to recognize fake news. I see Josh S. said there's some sort of pizza card on the Illuminati card game that was made back in the 90s that has predicted many things. Yes, that Illuminati card game is just blows my mind every time I look at it, because no matter if it's 2017, 2018, 2015, you'll find that back in the mid 90s, they were predicting all of this. And even like the whole Steve Jackson raid that happened, I mean, it's just bizarre. It's like, are they literally using these cards to predict the future? But he literally based these on a book, the Illuminati trilogy. So who knows exactly what it all means. And it could be a form of magic as well. I see Alan Van Ryan said, most of my friends are New Agers. It's the current culture creation. Thank the music industry. Yes, the music industry does really push a lot of New Age. We're all one, with like hints of Satanism. But of course, they've made Satan look like he's more of a victim than anything else. And yeah, Cat Wolf, I agree. All the names and words and things like Pizzagate show how they love code and how they're very sick. And how very sick they truly are. I agree. That whole Pizzagate like code list, it was just sickening, like how they were using these little code names to basically order children for sex. And then I see Alan Van Ryan said, I hear you, understand conspiracy. I have friends that push transhumanism without thinking of all the implication. Yes, a lot of people do push transhumanism. They think it's cool that we can get chips in our fingers and buy things. And I saw a video where a man was registering his daughter for school, and he said there were parents who were literally having their kids' fingerprints scanned so they could buy food. It's just wild that they're doing this to children. Like, if I were a parent and my kid was going to have their fingerprints scanned to eat, I'd want to homeschool them. But that's the reason why they want to do away with homeschooling. Sorry, guys, I'm like scrolling up again. I agree, Mega Man, that a lot of our generation, the 90s, do love Obama. And, I had friends that loved Obama. And there definitely was an Obama figure on the Illuminati card game. And I see Understand Conspiracy said it was scary to hear out loud in the real world, to be honest, after spending so long researching it online out loud. Because when it comes to like music and I'd say music conspiracy theories, I don't know if you guys noticed this, I'm not the most versed in decoding music videos. There are people out there who make videos about it and they're so talented at going through the lyrics and dissecting it. Since I don't listen to a lot of mainstream music, I simply just don't always decode it myself. I see Understand Conspiracy said I had a coworker say word for word to me, transhumanism is the next logical step in our evolution. Dazzling, terrifying to hear. Yes, it is terrifying when people think that transhumanism is the next step of evolution. But I think it's all of these movies that we see and, all these scientists coming out praising AI being the future. Thanks for stopping in, Catwolf. And I hope that you have a good night. Let's see. Oh, I see Kim Fry said, how old are you, Daz? No need to say if you don't want. It's just nice to know my generation isn't completely lost. I'm 22 years old. I'll be 23 in 17 days. So I'm born in 94. Yeah, a lot of people, millennials, I'd say, there are a lot of us that are actually awake, but then there's a lot of us who aren't. And oh, Kim Fry, you say you're 21. It's good to know that there's more young people, especially in their early 20s and teens, that are awake. It gives us hope for the future. I see Mega Man X, he's 22 as well. Yeah, it's good to know more young truthers as well, because a lot of people in the truth community are relatively older. And I think it's because it's easier to look at this stuff and see it when you've lived your life versus a lot of people who are young who want to live and kick it. And they don't want to think about this till they get much older, settle down, and have kids. And I see Josh S. says, I believe one reason why they are pushing transgenders so much is because eventually transhumanism will become the norm. Yeah, I do think that they're moving slowly toward that with, accepting the ideal that genders you can go between genders, or even Rachel Dolezal, you can go from being a white woman to being a black woman, being transracial. Then you have people like that guy who got that plastic surgery, like to be Tiamat, or I think it was Tiamat, the lizard goddess. I mean, it's crazy, all these trans species, transracial people that you're getting as well. I see Understand Conspiracy said that he's 25. Yeah, it's nice to see other people. I see Robert Belmont said 24, but Phil 30, and Alan Van Riot is 30. Well, we're all like in our 20s and 30s on here. But yeah, it's nice to see other millennials and people, that are below 40 that are awake, because I think there's a stereotype that most people in the truth community often can be on the older side just because it's easier to look at this stuff after you've kind of been in the world and lived it a long time. But I think things have gotten so bad with the spread of information. More of us are waking up younger and younger. I've seen more truthers even in their teens, so it's fascinating. And yeah, I agree on Van Riot. I wonder what 16-year-olds do think is cool today. I see Michael Brownshirt said, why does a wise brown girl hide her face? I think you're referring to me, and well, the reason for it being simply I just like it this way, and maybe eventually I will reveal my face, but probably not for some time. I like remaining anonymous. I see Seal Han said, I'm 33. Please don't read anything into that. It's just my age. I can't help it, LOL. No, I'm glad, though. It's nice to see everyone across the spectrum of ages, whether you're a little kid or you're like 90 years old. The more of us that are awake, the better. Vaping, that's what teens do. Yeah, I'd say so. And I see Kim Fry said the younger ones fall for the flat earth stuff often. Yeah, I don't know about the age demographics of the flat earth. I mean, I haven't, for me, when it comes to the flat earth, round earth argument, I mean, I definitely think that NASA has lied and they're involved in a lot of suspicious activity, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't necessarily embrace the round or flat earth. I just think that it could be either or. We could even live in a hollow earth for all we know. There's a lot of propaganda for that as well, and a lot of ancients did believe in our Agartha or inner earth. We saw that on the new King Kong movie as well. Trying to see if I can go up the chat, see if I left anyone out. Yeah, I agree. Flat Earth is interesting as a theory. It really is. I did a video exploring it. And again, it's one of those things where even if the earth is flat, I don't see it as the most important topic to obsess over, similar to the Mandela effect. I like going over a lot of different topics, but some people took the Mandela effect and they ran with it. And now some people, whenever they hear Mandela effect, they automatically get upset or they see it as a giant psyop. There's a lot of interesting things that could be Mandela effect worthy, and some of it could simply be bad memory or companies changing the name of a product. I see Alan Van Riot said, most of the young guns I meet these days are pretty heavily into mainstream music industry, and I read slower than the chat. Let me scroll back up again. And do without Wilt selfie life. Yeah, a lot of young people are into the whole selfie culture. I remember that video that came out a couple years ago of two girls at I don't remember if it was a baseball game or a football game, and they were just busy taking selfies rather than paying attention to the game. And yeah, I see that all the time, even in class. I'll be in lecture and I'll see people with their phones taking selfies of themselves in the middle of lecture. And it's like, if you can't go to class without taking a selfie, it's pretty obsessive. There is a lot of narcissism. And I know a lot of people point at millennials and say that it's a millennial thing, but I think if any generation had the type of technology that we have, like the ability to take photos of ourselves and all the other basic amenities that we have that make our life easier, it'd be easy to fall prey to it. And then people have just been so what's the word? I don't like calling people dumbed down all the time, but people have been so inundated with mainstream culture and bad music that it can make for shallow thinking and even sometimes just a shallow existence. I see Understanding Conspiracy said, trust me, just stay out of the flat earth debate. I learned the hard way. Yeah, I mean, the flat earth debate, if once you get into it, people are going to fight tooth and nail. They're going to yell at you saying, if you don't believe in the flat earth, you're a shill, or if you believe in a flat earth, or if you do believe in the flat earth, you're a shill. It's just like, can't we just agree to disagree on this matter? Or can't we just be neutral on the issue? But some people, it's not enough to be neutral. See, Mark B said, I feel sorry for the young people who join the army these days. As if they kill someone, their soul will be doomed. Yeah, I mean, I do think joining the military, I think twice about it. I mean, you don't see the elite sending their kids to the military to fight and die for this country. They encourage people that are middle class and poor to go do this and get their hands dirty. And there's so much trauma that goes into killing another human being. And a lot of the military is mind control, and people come back with post-traumatic stress disorder. So, I do admire the bravery that, our soldiers have and the sacrifice they make. But if I had a child, I wouldn't want them going to the military, and I sure wouldn't want my brothers going to the military either. So I do feel sorry as well for people who join the military. Let's see, I'm trying to scroll up a little bit. See, Mega Man X said the current world is a Mandela effect. We got sensitive people, trans, LGBTQ, XYZ, 155. Yeah, the alphabet on the LGBTQ does keep getting longer. They keep adding more names to it, like intersex people, which, I mean, that's a rarity, but they use it as an argument when someone's born with two parts. And, you know, it's rare that it happens, but sometimes it does. I see Josh Esch is saying that pretty sure the flat earth is a psyop to just distract people from what's really going on. Yeah, it could be that. I mean, it's easy for them to insert any type of psyop or thought into the quote unquote truth community and get us to focus or obsess over that and fight amongst ourselves as well. I just think the most important thing is to stay balanced on everything and never get too caught up in one thing. I mean, there are people that specialize, but some people get lost in it. Well, thanks, Michael Brown shirt. I'm glad that you like the channel. I see Ash 1959 said we have an SSM vote going to public in Australia now. What's the SSM vote? I'm completely ignorant of it, so fill me in on it. Oh, I heard about too in Australia, speaking of Australia, that ad that offended some, I think it was Hindus with Ganesh, that elephant deity. They were offended that elephant deity was eating lamb with all these other religious figures. They had Jesus there, of course, the fake image of Jesus, but this whole interfaith attempt backfired, which is kind of funny that it backfired. I mean, all this push for interfaithism is outrageous. Oh, I see. SSM, same-sex marriage. That's interesting, though, that you guys are voting on same-sex marriage. I wonder if it'll go through. I see Mr. Cuba 10 said, you should check out Enter the Stars on YouTube, Synchronicities, and Movie Decodes. Yeah, he puts out a lot of interesting stuff. All right, Kim Fry. Thanks for stopping in. I hope you have good rest. I see a lot of you guys are probably listening from London or in other parts across the Atlantic, I'd say in Europe. So I keep forgetting that we're on different time zones. For me, it's 8:28. I was originally planning to only do this for an hour, but with all the tech issues and you guys are keeping the conversation going, I think I'm going to wrap it up around 9. So we got like another 30 minutes. Yeah, let me see. Let me go back up to the chat. Yeah, Ash 1959, the whole same-sex marriage voting, I mean, we're going to probably see more and more of that in a lot of Western nations and even in countries like Mexico. I know they voted on it, and I think it went through, and then they had a massive protest against it. Thanks for informing me, understanding conspiracy, that we're 6 hours behind Europe. So for you guys, it's like 2:30 a.m. And thanks for the channel suggestion, Alan Van Riot. I think I've heard of Days of Noah. I don't remember. There's so many channels that I come across in the worst thing is that sometimes I'll watch a video and I'll think, oh, this is a good video, and I'll forget to hit subscribe. And sometimes I'll hit subscribe on a channel. I never watched any of their content because someone recommended it to me. I'm scrolling up the chat and seeing if I didn't miss anything. Sometimes I skip comments. For some reason, I need to figure out a way to probably enlarge this chat next time around. Hopefully to be a little more organized next time. I see Mega Man's mentioning 2030 being the year for the elite. You have a feeling about them wanting to push it harder. Yeah, that whole Agenda 2030 that they rolled that plan, it does seem like they really want to implement something by that year. I see Understand Conspiracies asking, have you had any more thoughts on dreams? That's an interesting question. Dreams are their own type of, what's it called? Like rabbit hole you can go into, like dreams. But I think most dreams are basically, I know in psychology they tell you that it's just your subconscious, but I think that they're spiritual for the most part. Because often I found like what happens in my dream life is reflective of what's happening in my spiritual life as well. So I definitely think if we're having a lot of nightmares, that's probably a wake-up call that something in our life is not right or is offset. For me, at least, I've been suffering a lot of insomnia lately. I don't know why. I have trouble going to sleep or staying asleep for long periods of time. I can only sleep for like 2 or 3 hours at most, and I wake up and it's awful. But I tend to find that for me, it strikes usually whenever I'm stressed, or it happens seasonally. Usually when I'm starting something or I'm getting close to finishing something, which I'm thinking is spiritual in nature. But I also too know that a lot of you guys in the past have mentioned also the spiritual attacks you've had in your dreams, like incubus, succubus attacks, as well as just nightmares and feeling attacked or menaced by something. Not all of these dark forces that people see at night, like shadow people, or I mean, not all these dark forces people see are always sexual in nature. Some of them are just menacing. I see Josh said he had a really strange spiritual dream a week ago that ended up with a minor case of sleep paralysis a week ago. Hey, Alan Van Wright, also, I saw you said, I've been falling asleep to interesting lectures on YouTube and hearing them in my dreams, all, LOL, also being the theme. That's interesting you say that. Hi, Davio Fett as well. It's interesting you say that because I have that same experience. Whatever I listen to during the day plays back to me in my sleep. But for me, it's almost like in a torturous type of way. It's not in a like nice, like, oh, I'm hearing the lecture again, or I'm hearing the video. It's like it plays back in a menacing way and it causes me to wake up, and I usually have to pray afterwards. So maybe it's not that way for you, but I do have that experience as well. I see Mega Man X said, I'm currently going through insomnia phase as well. Not fun. Yeah, insomnia is the worst. At first, I didn't realize that's what was happening, but for me, I've noticed, I hate to say this, but it's either been for me like for the last 10 years, it's either been insomnia or sleep paralysis. I haven't had a lot of just like good, peaceful sleep, but sometimes that happens, but it's very few and far between. See, Robert Belmont said, yeah, the first, I think I don't know if he's saying stream was good or dream. I don't get dreams that much used to all the time. They're very weird. Yeah, some people don't remember their dreams. I think we all dream, but sometimes, for some reason, some of us remember them more than others. Because for a while, I went through a phase earlier this year where I didn't even feel like I was dreaming anything. And I'm sorry, Josh S. I was reading your comment and then I jumped comments, but I'll pray for you about the sleep paralysis, but I hope that that gets better because I know sleep paralysis is never fun. And I know a lot of people dismiss it as completely just being stuck between REM and waking, but I do think it's spiritual in nature because many people have been able to make it go away by simply saying the name of Jesus. I see Ban Han T said I used to have sleep paralysis as a child. Do you no longer have it? Mr. Cuba 10 said, do you have a go-to channel for info? When it comes to info, I like frequent all channels, both truther channels, and non-truther channels. I just read news articles. I look at different scientific journals. I try to look at everything, and I get inspired by so many different things by the people around me. But there are some channels, like if I see their, like for instance, certain channels are more particular on certain topics. Like Black Child, he does a lot of good work with entertainment stuff like the Grammys, the VMAs, and musicians and the fashion industry. For more symbolisms, you have people like The Scariest Movie Ever. Call from Uprising does a lot of interesting videos. I mean, he talks about a lot of different satanic symbolism, but I'm trying to think of non-symbolism channels. Richie from Boston, the video he did on the whole NASA causing the hurricanes, that was really informative as well. There's just so many channels out there that I watch, and they provide different pieces to the puzzle. Good night, Jaguar Riot. Sorry, good night, Jaguar Riot. I don't know why. That was a mouthful for me to say. Let me see. Let me go up a little bit. I see Mark B was replying to Understand Conspiracy about getting fed in dreams. Let me see if I go down. And I see C.O. Van Hunty said, no, it caused me to want to not sleep. I didn't sleep a lot as a teenager, and I have insomnia in my 20s. I sleep great now, but I'm a lot stronger in my faith than I used to be. I'm glad to hear that, though, that you can sleep better now. I just wonder if insomnia can be linked to sleep paralysis, because it seems like a lot of us who've experienced sleep paralysis also suffer from some insomnia as well. And I'm glad to hear Armando back to that when you experience sleep paralysis that it stopped. I see Ash 1959 said, my technique for broken sleep is deliver instructions to the self before bed. If I wake up due to troubled thoughts, my instruction to put such thoughts aside will kick in. I was once a poor sleeper. Yeah, I've done that before with like nightmares, because I had nightmares where I was being chased and confronted, and I could never see who was confronting me. And once I told myself before I went to bed that I was going to confront whoever it was, then the dreams vanished. But that is a good technique. I see Understand Conspiracy said, I hear you should refuse food if offered in a dream, as it opens you up to demonic oppression. Yes, I have heard that too. It's interesting because with eating in your dreams, it's one of those things that it can be pleasant for some people. For me, it seems like I never get to quite eat the food, and when I have ate it, it tasted like nothing, or it didn't taste right. Like most of the dreams I have where I'm offered food, it almost starts to look really disgusting before I can eat it. And I think it's God protecting me from whatever demons are doing to try to create more oppression. Similar to when they use um, sex dreams or wet dreams to oppress people as well. I see Robert Belmont said, does sleep paralysis mean something bad is going to happen or is happening? I'd say that it means um, is happening. I don't know about going to happen, but it does seem like sleep paralysis is a spiritual attack. And often, once you pray, it does go away. So I would take it as a warning sign. Ash 1959 said bed head facing north is bad for sleep. I know from experience. What do you mean by bed head facing north? Mark B asked, what's your most frightening dream that you had? I'm trying to think. I've had a lot of frightening dreams, like more than I can count. I've had just really violent dreams of so many things. I'm trying to think what was the worst dream I had. Usually the dreams where I'm being like chased or captured, because I've had dreams where I was captured and tortured. I see Josh S. said, I know, and I'm trying to go on the right path again. The craziest thing about it is when I pray to Jesus in my head, it goes away immediately. That's how I know it's spiritual in nature. Yes, I agree, because you can't get the words out, but when you cry out to Jesus Christ, then it goes away. Let me go up a little bit. Let's see. Mark B asks, have you had the falling dream? I don't really get many falling dreams, but I have had dreams, I think, where I did start to fall and like I jolt awake. I hate those types of dreams. I see Mega Man X said that he had one about a female demon. She was attacking people, turned to me. I woke up with pain in my chest. Yeah, those types of dreams are never fun when you dream about some type of entity that's attacking people or worse, attacking you, and then you wake up and you feel like you've been attacked for real. I do think what we encounter in our dreams often is showing us what's probably coming after us in our waking, because often when we're going through spiritual attacks, it can weaken our immune system, it can mess with our mind. And I don't know about you, but whenever I've been going through a lot of spiritual attacks at night, I'll find that I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety in my in my waking life, or a lot of problems with friends or family or school. Yes, I agree. Alan Van Riot, demonic activity is on the rise, and I think with these rituals, like we're seeing, with, for instance, at Devil's Tower, a lot of it's probably to drum up more energy for more spirits to enter into this world. So we're probably going to see more demonic attacks occurring, and then people are just opening themselves up to it. Some of us unknowingly, some of us it's through our friends or family. But I've even heard stories of people getting possessed through watching The Conjuring or Annabelle. Like there's been, I'm not Catholic, but there's been priests that perform exorcisms who said they've had to exorcise people who have watched Annabelle or The Conjuring and they've been possessed. So it's wild what's happening through entertainment these days. And then, of course, you throw in technology, going back to spiritism like we were talking about earlier in the stream. And then, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but did you hear about like that demon goat that was born in, I think it was Argentina. There was a goat born that looked like a demon and it scared locals. Now, people are saying it could have been like just a deformed goat, but it had a really weird looking face. And then there was a cow that was born that looked like a rock star. And people were making jokes like, did he commit bestiality? Oh my God, it was weird though. just these animals being born. It's like, are these is this just sad cases of deformity, or I mean, are they experimenting with animals? Even this is like a more wackier theory. Are angels or demons doing what they did in the past in Genesis 6 with these animals or in the Book of Giants? And I see Robert Deland said he did see the picture of the goat. um, I see that Ash 1959 said head pointing north during sleep is supposedly to do with magnetic fields. Looking back on my past proves that I never slept while pointing north. Interesting. I have to keep that in mind. And I see Alan Van Wright said, I believe as Christians we need to view ourselves as spiritual warriors in these times. I agree. It's never been more important for us to understand spiritual warfare, to be in prayer, and to not just like look up devotions, but know scripture. Yes, yes, Josh S. Oh, the cow for Gene Simmons birthmark. Yeah, that was just funny. They had a picture side by side, and the comment section was hilarious. But yeah, I don't know, it comes to animals and deformities, it's always interesting. And then we just know too that you have scientists that are creating chimeras, and wasn't there a human pig created like the end of last year, I think? So many odd stories that it's hard to keep up. I mean, it's like going back to transhumanism or back to Genesis 6. Actually, I see the stories from early 2017, but yeah, there was the human pig hybrid as well. I see My Skies 5D said they've been subscribed for a long time. I invite you to come take a look at my channel after your live stream. Thank you, My Skies 5D. I'll have to come take a look and subscribe. I have to write your name down because I'm not sure how this comment section works, but it might if I'm not sure. I don't know if people's comments stay up or not. Let's see. Let me go back up again. I see Understand Conspiracy said, there may come a day when we young truther Christians will have to apply this knowledge we've learned over the years to save others, when demons become many and more obviously in people. That's very true, Understand Conspiracy. That's the thing that gives me hope about, like, when a lot of us were saying we're, like, under 40, not that there's anything against people over 40, but since we're going to be here a while, the more of us that are awake and the more of us that are believers, it helps us basically be a buffer against Satan's kingdom. And hopefully if any of us become parents or at least mentors to kids, be able to stand our ground against the kingdom of darkness, but also help younger people as well. I see Alan Van Wright said, I'm breaking up a little, but then he said, better, meow. And Armando Beck said he sees a lot of videos on Ouija boards. Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see more of that. People's fascinations with Ouija boards and the occult just grows with the day. A lot of it's due to these horror movies. Let's see. Josh S. said, I know that they created a goat that creates spider silk or something like that. Yeah, they keep creating these creatures, and they say it's like, it's beneficial, like the apple orange tree. I mean, is it beneficial or is it just them wanting to mess with creation? And I agree, Mark B. Everything that happens on this earth is connected to spiritual warfare. Yeah, a lot of this, what we're seeing, is spiritual. And like I said in the demon differences between demons and fallen angels video I did on demonology. A lot of what we see happening now has happened in the spirit or is simultaneously occurring, similar to what we saw with Gabriel fighting the prince of Persia and then the prince of Greece, and then seeing the fall of Persia to Greece. You guys' jokes. Mega Man X said, "We're gonna have spider goats, transhumans, and demons walking on Earth." That's probably gonna be the case. I mean, the way this world's headed, and they've already got most of the youth program with superheroes and nerd culture. I kind of like nerd culture, but I have to admit that it does open our mind to, you know, think about a kind of Star Trekish world one day, and we might kind of see a Star Trekish world, especially if they unleash portals and open up portals, and somehow the spiritual is able to manifest into the physical. Yeah, I agree, Robert Deland. A lot of times our curiosity can get people into bad places. I mean, I think in a way, what Eve did when she went and she ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I think a lot of it was due to curiosity. I mean, Satan did tell her she could be like God, but also I think there was a curiosity aspect as well. And they always say curiosity killed the cat, but curiosity can lead us to like want to know too much. And that's why it's always so important when we're even looking into truth that we don't let our curiosity or our thirst for knowledge overcome us to the point that we go so deep into the rabbit hole we get lost and we can't return. Because unfortunately, I've seen that from some other truthers. But yeah, I think it's important to just always stay grounded, and whenever we do get overwhelmed or we start to feel like we're getting lost in the rabbit hole, to pull back and unplug and try to see the world as simple as we can see it again, even though, to be honest with you, once you know this kind of stuff, it's nearly impossible to go back to seeing the world the way you once did see it. My skies 5D, are you talking about angels being in the skies or UFOs? I see Mega Man X said he's talking about the divide between men and women, aka feminists versus MGTOW. Yeah, that's just so crazy. I mean, I remember when I first got into this whole thing, I started to watch a lot of people who were anti feminist, or, because I honestly think that feminism for a lot of younger people has fallen out of favor. I think they're way more anti feminist. And then there are people too that are MGTOW, but you do have feminists. And yeah, this whole women don't need men or men don't need women, it's just another form of divide and conquer. Yeah, they'll use anything though to divide us, and it's just sad though when you have people fighting over like which gender is better, which gender is the worst. I see Josh has said, I find it interesting that in the Bible, I forget the verse, it says not to talk or communicate with spirits, and for good reason. Only bad things come when you try to do that. I agree. Yeah, I don't agree with people using spirit boxes or Ouija boards or doing automatic writing. Even a lot of these challenges that people are doing to harm themselves, it's usually a lot of teenagers, which is sad. Like there was one where kids were committing suicide. Yeah, it only does bring bad things usually because spirits can be cunning, they can be tricky, they can act like your best friend one minute and then turn around and stab you in the back. But a lot of spirits are tricksters. Yep, people do it anyways, Robert DeLand. Some people are always going to be too curious or just apathetic that they won't care. And they're like, oh, I just want to have a spiritual experience, not realizing that they're opening Pandora's box. I got 4 minutes left of the stream, and then I think I'm going to end it. But do you guys have any like last thoughts or anything that you want to discuss? I see understanding conspiracy said I've been observing the SJWs, communist, feminists, but also the alt-right, the new right kind of poses as true to culture, but it's all very worldly and combative against the rising liberalism. Yes, I agree. I mean, this whole left-right paradigm for some people, it's like a religion for some of them. They really cleave to it. I mean, I can't go a day, even if I'm just trying to read something non-political, without seeing somebody saying how liberals need to die or making fun of right-wingers. It's just so ridiculous how some people hold their politics like a religion. And thanks, Alan Van Riot. Thanks, Sayo Bon Hanti. Josh S. asked why I chose the name Dazzling One. I chose the name because it's kind of funny. I wasn't planning ever on having a YouTube channel, and in my family, my mom just made up names for us based on like the first letter of our name, and it just happened to be Dazzling because my first name starts with a D. So when I made my channel, like uploaded my first video, I couldn't think of anything to change it to, so that's kind of why I'm just Dazzling One. It's nothing very complex about it. And I see that Mega Man X said, yes, many on the right are against the government. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd say some, because some people, I guess, in the alt-right might feel like finally they've taken the government back into their hands after the Obama era, now it's in Trump's hands. And thank you as well, Robert DeLand, for listening. Trying to reply to a lot of you guys' last comments. And thank you, Understand Conspiracy, as well. Good night. Well, guys, I think I'm going to get ready to wrap up the stream. I only have like a minute left, but it was nice talking to all of you. And hopefully we can do this again next Monday. I don't know if it'll be an hour next time or 2 hours, but thanks for keeping me going 2 hours. And thanks for putting up with all the tech issues as well. It was a great chat, and I guess you guys will see the video a couple days on Wednesday, but I'll talk to you live next week. Thanks for watching. Good night, and God bless all of you.